afternoon. That's right, I'm doing a video in the daylight. Who could have ever guessed? I'm sure people were beginning to think I was a vampire. We are almost to Pampa, Texas. We just left Amarillo on our way to Dodge City, Kansas. I've got to do a drop and hook there at the National Beef in Dodge. Where's that guy turning? I'm assuming he's turning, yeah. We're going to do a drop and hook at the National Beef and then go to South Sioux City, Nebraska, which I'm at often if you watch my videos. So that's a solid 11 hours from Amarillo to Dodge, from Dodge to South Sioux. That's about 700 miles on a lot of, a good bit of 2-lane road, so that'll be a solid 11 hours. So hopefully I will get a full break in when I get up here, and it won't be one of these like today where I got to where I was delivering, I parked there on the street because we're on a dead-end street, and went to bed about 3:30, got up about 8, went in and checked in, so I had to wake up for that, went back to bed, tried to, couldn't sleep, and I've been sitting up ever since. I had a 10 o'clock appointment, but it was 1 o'clock, 1:30 actually before they put me in the door. It's 4:30 now. And I left about an hour ago. So, yeah, it was slow. We don't do a lot of live unloads. And I'll be honest with you, it would hurt my feelings if I never do another one. Because they're quite irritating. And I could go on another rant about the 14-hour clock not stopping, but I'm really trying to hold back. Coming into the big city of Pampa, Texas. I'm not going to go through town. I'm going to take this little shortcut that we take, kind of bypasses the town. I live about 45 miles from here. In fact, I'll be in Pampa the Friday after Christmas. Got to get up here and buy some plywood at the lumber yard. They've got a good seafood restaurant here in town, of all places. You would think, you know, middle of the Texas Panhandle, you wouldn't be able to find good seafood, but there's actually a decent seafood restaurant that opened here. And of course, being from South Louisiana, I had to go check it out. And it was actually quite good. I was pleasantly surprised. I'd heard good things about it from people around here, but I'm like, okay, yeah. Look, if I love West Texas, don't get me wrong, I do. I love living here. But if you don't cut it off a cow, they're really not interested. You know, and so if they say, oh yeah, it's a great seafood restaurant, you kind of like, yeah, what's your idea of great seafood? You know, Star-Kissed tuna, I mean, no offense. I mean, if it's steak or something, that's one thing. Anyway, enough of that. can never hit this light green. No matter which way I'm coming, I can never hit this light green. It's like it's got it in for me. I don't know. But anyway, this little place on the corner of this red building, it used to be a car lot. Then it was a barbecue place. Now it's called CYD's Cafe. I don't know. Nothing seemed to stay there very long. So I saw a thing on Facebook. Somebody was making one of these trucker groups. Somebody was making the argument that if you work for a company where they don't want you to keep fuel receipts and they want you to do your scale on your phone, on an app on your phone, then you need to run away because they're obviously up to no good. They want you to cheat and this and that and the other. Of course, all the Karens were all, oh yeah, stay away from that place. Yeah, they want you to run illegal and this and that. And I really, look, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the new breed of driver and all this and that because, you know, every generation of driver gets that from the older generation of drivers. I will say this, though. The younger drivers coming out today, and I don't know if it's truck driving school that teaches them this or what, but they are afraid of their own shadows. They really are. They are scared to death of doing anything that they may perceive as being, quote, illegal. They clutch their pearls over everything. You know, and I made the comment to somebody on there, because I, of course, had to comment on it. I had to put my 2 cents in. It pissed people off, but I said, you know, people like this kind of remind me of that kid in school, in class. Remember the teacher had to go outside for a minute, and she would always put that one kid who snitches on everybody in charge. So, and you know, they would always tell the teacher who was talking while she was gone. That's the new breed of driver today. You know, you talk about doing, yeah, man, I had to run off extra hard, you know, to get to this place, do a little creative logging, but I was able to do it, and blah, blah. Oh, well, according to, you know, they CFR, whatever, and they're pulling out something from out of the green book, you know, and you're like, really, Karen? Really? Are you going to go snitch? Are you going to jump on the phone to the DOT? Oh, this driver said he drove over his hours. But anyway, just so people know where I'm coming from, where I work, we don't keep fuel receipts. We don't keep scale receipts. We usually do it on our phone. Sometimes we'll keep a scale receipt. I don't really scale a lot of stuff. But my point is, I mean, we're not trying to hide anything. It's just, it's called modern technology. It's 2025. I really don't even know why we're carrying around paper BOLs. We ought to be able to have that on our tablets. The customer knows what they're getting. But anyway, you know, it does help with some, and I said this in the comment. Yeah, I mean, it's not that we're doing anything wrong, but it does kind of help you with overzealous DOT officers who say, it says here you were at you bought this at the Loves and, you know, whatever, Ottumwa, Iowa. I don't know if there is a Loves in Ottumwa, Iowa. At 5:46, but it shows in your logbook you left at 5:45 or 5:40. So you're telling me in that minute you walked out, got in the truck? Dude, it's electronic log. What do you want me to say? How do I know their register has the exact right time? Right? I have no idea. I don't ask them when I check out somewhere, when's the last time your cash register was calibrated to make sure it's showing the right time? I have no idea. So yeah, it saves you from crap like that. Not to mention the fact the fuel receipts I used to get didn't have the time on them anyway. It has a date on them, didn't have the time on them. Now, back in the day, and some of the older drivers can attest to this, there were a lot of these mom and pop places we'd go to where they'd hand write your receipt and they'd put whatever date you wanted on it. Or you tell them leave it blank and I'll fill it in later. Because I don't know yet what day I'm supposed to be here, right? I mean, yeah, we used to do stuff like that. We sure did. By the way, and I'm going to keep repeating myself on that, we had less accidents per capita than they do today. Just saying. Just saying. I know I say that just about every video, and I will continue to say it. Just saying. Not advocating that you cheat on your logbook. Just saying. Anyway, so not every company that doesn't, where the drivers don't carry fuel receipts, not every company is necessarily doing anything nefarious. It's called the 21st century, where we don't have to carry around as much paper stuff as we used to. This guy's turning. I figured he's going to turn somewhere. It's a ranching truck. Went to the airport. I don't know what that's about. None of my business. That's what it's about. See, it's a gorgeous day for December. Holy crap. What a beautiful day. It was the same yesterday in Colorado. Just a beautiful day for December. This whole central area of the country, it's just really just been beautiful. Know, you know, I keep telling my wife, this can't last forever. This beautiful weather. The bottom's going to fall out. It may be the end of January before it happens. I don't know. But if it's going to happen. It can't stay like this forever. Not in this part of the world. Bad little shortcut. I mean, this is just a county road, so it's not bad for a county road. Actually, I think that's technically not true. I think it's technically a ranch road, which is a little higher up than a county road. A farm road or a ranch road in Texas is it's a little below a state highway, but it's maintained by the state. So it is technically like a state highway, but it's not. This little building on the right, this little red building, that was an old pioneer schoolhouse. An old one-room schoolhouse, and they've restored it. There's a little outhouse in the back of it. They've done a good job of restoring that little building. It's got a historical marker in front of it. This is State Highway 70. about the 2-lane roads in Texas is they're 75 mile an hour. Looks like we might be getting some rain up to the north. It's not cold enough to snow. A little under 4 hours from Amarillo to Dodge. I was actually out there by the airport north of town, so about 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 to 4, just depends. Looks like one of our trucks coming this way. I'll be darned, it is one of our trucks coming this way. Wow. It's probably going to Amarillo. A lot of guys go from Holcomb, Kansas to Amarillo this way. I don't. I go a different way. But to each his own. One thing about living in the high plains is, like, it looks like this basically all the way to Canada, right? It's about the same thing. You can run this road, well, you can't run this road, but you could run due north from here to the Canadian border, and the scenery would be pretty much the same. Actually, you could run all the way to Edmonton, Alberta, and the scenery would be pretty much the same. I'll have to stop there at the Loves and Dodge, fill up the truck, make sure the trailer's got 3/4 of a tank of reefer in it before I drop it across the street. There's a crude oil hauler. Let's do a lot of that around here. A lot of big ranches out here. Thousands and thousands of acres. Some of them go back to the late 1800s. I still think about going back to Alaska, but I'm really trying to get that out of my mind. I probably need to just stay here. It's hard though, man, because I get bored. I like to have adventure. I may stay here though and go back oil field driving in a little while. Stay here for a couple of years maybe, and then do that. Finish out my career doing that maybe. There's never a dull moment in that job. A lot of off-road driving. That really prepared me for Alaska. Oil field driving. And I know I've said this in several videos, but I'll say it again for new listeners, new watchers. If you want to go to Alaska and say run the ice roads, run the Dalton, being from Wisconsin or Minnesota or something, is not really going to help you. Off-road driving, like doing oil field driving, or maybe you're hauling hay, things like that, that kind of stuff will do you more good than anything, really. You know. And again, no insult to people from Wisconsin or anywhere like that, but if you've been driving up and down a nice paved highway across Wisconsin or Minnesota for 20 years, that really doesn't prepare you for up there. Running lease roads, running gravel, dirt roads will more prepare you. You know, if you could go over to North Dakota or something and run in the oil field, or West Texas or somewhere, run in the oil field for a year or two, that would really prepare you more than anything. Which is one reason why you have so many Texans and Okies up there running the haul road. Some of these lease roads, especially down here in the canyons closer to the Canadian River, that go on for miles and miles and miles. You can crisscross the Texas Panhandle and never touch a paved road. Down 287 last night. Man, and it was late. It was probably 10, 11 o'clock. Well, like I said, I got to Amarillo about 3:30. But 287 through Colorado, my God, the traffic. Just one after the other after the other. They really need to do something with that road. They need to make a 4-lane out of it. Now, my understanding is Interstate 27 that runs between Lubbock and Amarillo, eventually they're going to expand that north, but it's going to go up and it's going to cut over toward Dalhart, and then it's going to link up with I-25 there around Raton Pass. They're right at the New Mexico-Colorado line. That'll help because a lot of guys will go ahead and take that way to go to Denver, which I've done that a few times, taking, what's that highway, 87? Through Dalhart, Clayton, New Mexico, and up that way. But from Greeley, it's really not feasible. It's kind of out of the way. But the old Chisholm Ranch, man, that place is legendary. There to our left. But anyway, yeah, I just, that road just got so much traffic on it. send you to Dodge. That's fine with me. Don't really like that place in Cactus. I wasn't even going to do a video. I know it's kind of boring out through here, but thought, I'll do one while it's still daylight. Excuse me. These areas down here where they have trees, usually because there's a creek or something. There's not a lot of water out here. It's pretty dry, but so when you see a clump of trees, usually, like I said, a creek bed or something around, and you'll hear turkeys gobbling because that's where they congregate. All the animals out here congregate wherever there's water naturally. It was just funny when I was hauling crude oil around here. I'd go off on these lease roads, off on these big ranches, like I said, for miles sometimes, and you get some area where there's a creek bed, and you hear these turkeys gobbling off there in the trees. Of course, you hear the coyotes and everything else. We hear a lot of coyotes around our house at night. We've got an outside dog that kind of patrols, well, she's supposed to. Anyway, I don't know. She's not too bright, but she's big, so she's intimidating looking. had those fires a few years ago, all this was gone. It looked like the Sahara Desert. This is all like sand dunes under this grass. And when the grass is gone, that's all you see for miles, just the sand dunes. It was pretty wicked looking. It's all grown back now. I mean, it's pretty nice. Still producing. Not it so much, but I mean the pump jack that it's connected to. Now this is the Mesa Vista Ranch to our left. This ranch was owned by T. Boone Pickens. T. Boone Pickens was a billionaire from Dallas, and he had this big ranch out here. He is one of the guys who is responsible for all these big wind farms all over the middle of the country. All over the West, really. T. Boone Pickens. Now, if you look at T. Boone Pickens Ranch, and you can only see a little bit of it on here, I know, although it is on both sides, you do not see any wind farms on it. Zero. Even though this guy made a fortune because he got a lot of government subsidies to build these wind farms all over the West. Right? But out here on his ranch, there is not one wind farm. You know what you do see, and you probably can't see them too much here on the video, but they're out here. Tank batteries. And when I say tank batteries, I mean oil wells. Oil wells all over this ranch. But not any wind farms. No. Wind farms for thee, but not for me. You have to look at those ugly things. I'm not putting them on my ranch. Of course, he's dead now. He died a few years ago. Just ironic. See all those flat top mesas out there? There are areas down by Abilene and such. They put wind farms on top of those mesas. Just ugly up the whole landscape. But not on the Mesa Vista Ranch. It's not going to happen. I know it's another thing I rail on a lot, and I apologize. Actually, I don't apologize because I'm right. And I'm not going to get into all that right now. But maybe I'll get into it again. I'm sure I will. Here's the Canadian River. There's actually a little bit of water in it. A little bit. Enough for the animals to get, to be able to drink. I'd love to go turkey hunting. I like turkey, but I never have time to do it. I see this road here to the left, this road to the right. I've been down both of these hauling crude oil. This one to the right, you can follow it all the way to the eastern panhandle, over to the town of Canadian. There's a bunch of big hills and mesas out there you got to go over and around, and it's like something out of an old western movie out there. And they've got wells mesas and crap like that. That's why I'm talking about how you learn skills driving an oil field, because the trucks are set up pretty much the same as in Alaska. They sit up high, they got full lockers, things like that. They got traction tires, stuff like that. And but yeah, you learn how to drive a truck. Unlike this, where I mean, you know, the biggest challenge to this is being able to sit behind a steering wheel for an extended amount of time. Some people can do it, some people can't. Think about the pioneers, like what it must have been like out here. You know, you can get blizzards come across here in the winter, and then it's, you know, dusty and hot, dry in the summer. That's some tough people. Here, well, you had the Apaches here, and then the Comanches came in and they wiped out much of the Apaches, killed a lot of them, enslaved a lot of them, pushed what was rest of them over into modern day New Mexico, and then the Comanches took over here. They also murdered a lot of the Kiowa who were in the area. I'm not trying to get political, I'm just stating a fact. Then the buffalo hunters came. Then the ranchers came. Broke down one time, not necessarily right here, but down on the 4.6s down south of here, and I run out of hours, and our mechanic came all the way down from Dumas, and if you know where Dumas is, it's a pretty good drive. The 4.6s is south of Childress, if you know where that is. Anyway, if you don't, it's a long drive, I'll just put it that way. But it was pitch black. There's no lights, there's nothing. It's just pitch black. You're 30 miles off the paved road. And anyway, he got it going. I forget what all the deal was. And he's like, he said something about me staying. I said, I'm gonna stay here tonight. He said, you gonna stay here? I said, yeah. He said, okay, aren't you a little scared? I said, of what? I don't know. It's pitch black out here. I said, yeah, there's nothing out here. I said, there's cow. I said, the worst thing that could happen to me is a curious cow might sneak up behind me and sniff me. He said, yeah, man, those coyotes. I said, yeah, look, the coyotes don't want any part of me. I said, this is what you got out here. I said, you have cows, you have coyotes, you have wild hogs. That's about it. None of them want anything to do with me. Of course, I call my wife. And stuff. You better hope there's not a serial killer out there. I said, why in the world would there be a serial killer in the middle of the 4.6s ranch? I'm 30 miles from the nearest highway. I don't think I have to worry about a serial killer. And actually, I slept good that. I turned the truck off. It was nice and cool that night. Cracked open the sleeper vents. I slept like a baby. You could hear the coyotes out, in the distance. I love that sound. Especially when you hear the little ones, the little pups. There's no light pollution anywhere, no noise. You didn't have some idiot in the truck next to you blaring his stereo or something. I don't get that, man. Rant coming, just warning you, but I don't understand it. Look, if you're backed into a parking spot at a truck stop, I don't care if it's the middle of the day, don't blast your stereo. Because it could be some guy's been running all night, and he's parked next to you, and he's trying to get some sleep. We don't want to hear your train horns, we don't want to hear your stereo, we don't want to hear any of that. Because you know what I'm going to do? If I'm pulling a reefer like I am now, I'm going to pull up and get that reefer unit even with your sleeper, and I'm going to fire that thing up, whether I need to run it or not, and drown you out. It's rude, but I see it more and more nowadays. These guys pull into a truck stop, they think they're the only person there, even though there's trucks everywhere. They don't care about anybody but themselves, and they'll blare their stereo. Whatever they listen to. And it's not just the bitches and hoes music. They listen to a lot of different stuff. It doesn't matter to me, but they're blaring it, man. Or they come in blowing their train horns or something. Dude, I don't give a damn about your train horns, bro. I'm trying to sleep. I don't care. It's rude. So anyway, I slept good that night because I was out in the middle of a ranch, and there was the only sound you heard was coyotes out in the distance. Didn't bother me one bit. I slept like a baby. And not a baby that wakes up every couple hours. And the sun is setting. I think I'm done with my rant. Sorry. I'm not really sorry. It's true. Everything I said was true. Usually when I go on a rant, the stuff I'm saying is true. You might not want to hear it, and you might disagree with it, but to me it's true. And if you don't think it's true, then you're probably wrong. Just say it. Parked on that street where I unloaded at, and got out, walked around a little bit. I like to get out and walk around some, try to keep from getting fat. And there it was, trash. I'm like, everywhere we go, I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't, but I don't know. I'm really surprised people let us park in some of the places they let us park. Guys complain about, there's no place for us to park. Yeah, you're lucky that we can park when we park. Because it's trash. We trash everything we get close to. Truck drivers will ruin every opportunity that's given to them. Not all. Maybe not even most. It may be a minority, but it's enough. somebody made a suggestion and I do a live stream, just let it roll and, just because I worry about, okay, people are going to try to send me messages and I can't read them going down the road, not really. But he's like, just tell people. And I might do that. I never think about it until I'm on, until I'm on here. I got the camera going. Maybe one late night when I'm getting kind of sleepy and I'm driving and I'm trying to keep my mind busy. I don't know. We'll see. To my right, but all these cows over here all walk in the same direction. That means they know that they're about to get fed. Cows aren't stupid, especially when it comes to their stomach or stomachs. They know they're about to get fed. They know about what time the rancher comes out. take you from the Mexican border to the Canadian border. Starts in Laredo. Also runs about a half a mile from my house. I wasn't gonna wait on his car, but he's way back there. Thought about buying a truck. I used to own my own truck. I actually had my own truck and trailer at one time back in the 90s. But man, the price of diesel the way it is now and everything, everything's so expensive. I don't know. The big city of Perryton, Texas. I enjoyed hauling crude oil. I think I talked about it before. You know, you get out of the truck, you're out of the truck a lot. And, you know, it's hot in the summer, it's cold in the winter. That's life, man. Life is hot and cold. What do, you know? Take the bypass around, and then we'll turn right out here and go east toward the big city of Booker, Texas. The Christmas lights. My wife's got lights out. We'll take the loop on around. Loop's actually a bypass. This town got hit hard by a tornado a few years ago. Wiped out a good chunk of town. Work next 15 miles. What the hell are you doing to that road? Probably repaving it. east till we get to the big city of Booker, Texas. Then we turn north, cross into that little strip of Oklahoma that keeps Texas from getting into Kansas on it. Just joking. I like Kansas. Nothing against Kansas. Anyway, this thing's going on an hour. I know, like I said, there's not much going on, which is fine with me. Boring is good. It's getting dark. This down. Hey, I appreciate you watching. My channel doesn't grow, but it stays steady, and I appreciate that. Anybody who wants to know what I've done before this, I've got plenty of Alaska videos. I've got videos when I was driving in the oil field. Before that, yeah, plenty of stuff. Go ahead and end this for now. Excuse me. Maybe I'll do a live stream tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. I'll see. If I do, it'll probably be a surprise. You'll probably get very little, if any, warning. Just warning you about that. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.